If this is the, wow, this is gonna be hard. If this is the first video that you've clicked on my channel, this is definitely a hard one to start with. As you can tell by the title of this video, it's different than what I typically upload. I've been going through some stuff over here during this weird time in our world. Not a lot of you know this, so I'm just gonna tell you that I don't say it out loud a lot, so it's harder. I recently miscarried our baby, our first baby. That word sounds like a word we've all heard before. A lot of women go through this. What I didn't know is that it was one of the most physically, emotionally, and spiritually the most inconceivable things I've ever done. I've gone through a lot of emotions in this process, and I think the one that comes to mind the most is how just like angry I was during it, but because I don't think people prepare you as a woman for what that looks like or could look like. A lot of women will have a natural miscarriage, which means that their body automatically decides that the baby's not viable and they'll miscarry on their own. And I didn't have that experience. I didn't know that I would have to force a miscarriage to happen, administer a medical abortion, and then sit in my bathroom for what ultimately ended up being about 17 hours, forcing my body to go into labor to pass it. And nobody tells you that, you know. You sit at your doctor and you get this awful news, and you look at her and go, okay, well, what's next? And you think the advice is going to be just to give it some time and your body will eventually pass it. And that wasn't the case. I had to go home and handle it myself. And if that didn't work, I would have to go have a surgery to clean out my uterus. All of this while in the midst of a pandemic. And unfortunately, I had someone in my doctor's office building who had the virus. It was, you know, a risky time. I wasn't prepared for the trauma of it all. And I looked to YouTube as soon as I got home to figure out like what this process was like. And it was videos similar to this and videos that I hope to do in the future that were so comforting to me because there was information that I needed that other women who were strong enough to talk about it put up on the internet. So I hope to be a voice for some of you who might be watching, who might be going through it. It's really hard to talk about it. I think this was made even harder by the fact that we really did have a miraculous pregnancy. It was very unexpected and pretty special. My pregnancy actually started on Christmas Day, which is pretty crazy because we've been trying to have a baby for about 1.5 years. Not a lot of people know that either. A lot of you know that I had a lot of fibroids, which are benign tumors in your uterus. I had 13 of them, and I had them ablated. And during that procedure, my doctor found out that I had endometriosis, which is the #1 cause of infertility in women. Thank God my fibroids are no longer really in the picture, but the endometriosis is. It makes having a family really challenging. I actually posted this silly photo on Instagram. I'll put it here. On I think January 5th, telling everyone we're not pregnant. My mom bought me this like baby onesie that she keeps regifting to me. It was actually that week where I went to my doctor to start some fertility treatments. I had an exam. He's like, you know what, as soon as your next period, I need you to come back and we need to perform this procedure on you. It was gonna cost me like $800 to do that. It was surgery. And I didn't really want to do it. I didn't know if I had a choice. The very next week, I felt like something was different. I was a little late, like 2 days. Not a big deal. I'm not on birth control, so that happens. But I decided that I would, just on a whim, take a pregnancy test. I just took a pregnancy test. I'm literally shaking. I'm really not sure what to think right now. I'm like excited or like terrified. Oh man. I'm pregnant. I do think that God's so cool, and to have timed it that way, you know, to have my pregnancy start on Christmas Day. And so we were really, really grateful and excited.
Excuse me? What? You're pregnant? Honey, I love you. This is crazy.
It's really crazy.
I'm so happy.
You are.
It's just like seemed like it was gonna be so distant. Like it was like, oh, these tests and these other things, and you're gonna be the best mom. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait.
My first ultrasound was at 6 weeks. The baby's heart rate was super strong, really prominent.
Definitely pregnant when you have a heartbeat. Little flickering is good. So measuring where you're supposed to be. Stay still for 1 sec. There you go. That's it.
That's so cool.
Here's your first cookie.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that little speck.
And my miscarriage rate went from 35% to 5%. Something you should also know is I was so sick. Most of 2020, January, February, I was so nauseous. I could barely get out of bed. Simultaneously, I'm having to do videos and I'm having to work at Clever. I'm trying to be high energy, all the while trying also not to throw up on everyone. A lot of you noticed that I have not been wearing my wedding ring, and that happens sometimes. I forget to put it on. I actually, during my pregnancy, was really kind of allergic, so to speak, to some metals, so I had to stop wearing my wedding ring. And as sick as I was, it really was supposedly a good sign. My pregnancy was great and my baby was healthy, and we really had nothing to worry about. We decided we wanted to tell our parents in person. Matt's family lives in Texas, my family lives in North Carolina. On a long weekend in February, it was Matt's mom's birthday and my sister's birthday, so we decided to surprise them for their birthday and give them both a cake that said we're pregnant on it. It's gonna be a whirlwind trip, a day and a half cross country. Let's go. We just landed in Dallas. We just picked up our cake.
That's our cover. It's gonna be like 2 surprises. Hey, we're here to celebrate your birthday. Real surprises on the cake.
We got this cake from this local place that has really good reviews.
Really good cake.
Okay.
Wow, man, I'm all excited.
Your birthday cake.
Okay, so it's great for you.
Yes.
We got your cake.
Oh, we didn't buy cakes for y'all.
Got it custom made.
No! Are you really?
Are you serious? That's what I should scream about. I was like, what does it say? Wire? I thought white at first. I was gonna have birthday. I'm so excited.
Oh, come here. You've been waiting for me to have a baby since you were a baby.
I know.
We kicked planning into gear, designing a baby room, working with partners that were amazing. Getting a bunch of maternity clothes because honestly none of my clothes were fitting anymore. We even were able to tell some of our closest friends.
I just found out I'm pregnant.
Really?
Yeah!
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm pregnant.
What? That's the guy's name! Are you pregnant?
What?
So early in March, we had a follow-up appointment with my doctor, and then I had to go work at Clever in the afternoon. And it was a routine visit, nothing crazy, nothing to be worried about. I laid down on the table, and Matt asked the ultrasound tech if he could film, and she said, yeah, thank you for asking. And I remember laying down and her looking for maybe just a few seconds, and she turned to Matt and was like, I need you to stop filming right now.
I'm gonna have you not film for just a second.
And he and I locked eyes, and I knew. So I was experiencing what people call a missed miscarriage. It's when the baby is no longer viable, but my body still thinks that it is. So it operates as though I'm pregnant. The uterus is growing, there's blood supply growing, I'm feeling super sick, all the symptoms. It's as if nothing is wrong, but everything is wrong at the same time. And what happens when you have a missed miscarriage, you have a couple of options. If you're early in your pregnancy, you can wait and let your body try and pass it on its own. Unfortunately, I was so far along that there was a real risk of it continuing to progress. And then when I would have to have surgery, there's a high risk for bleeding out. My doctor said, I need you today to do this procedure at home, and you need to come back here tomorrow. And if it didn't work, then we're gonna have to take you into surgery. Matt had to go to work and I had to go to work, and I remember walking to my car and having a full-on meltdown. I just sat in my car and really bawled my eyes out, because all I wanted to do was to go home and go to bed. And I had committed to this shoot, and I didn't want to bail out at the last minute. And so I had to go to the mall and shoot a Clever video and just pretend it didn't happen and that my baby wasn't gone. The next day, I decided to do the procedure here. Putting 4 pills inside of me that would send my uterus into essentially labor. Usually when women go through this process, they have pain medicine. I'm allergic to a lot of pain medicines, so I think I had Tylenol, like prescription Tylenol. I didn't know what to expect. You know, my doctor was like, oh, you'll feel cramping. You need to have somebody there, you won't feel very good. So I was just prepared for kind of like normal period stuff, and it wasn't that. The medicine usually works within an hour, and it lasts about 6 to 10 hours. The process lasted 17 hours. It was gut-wrenching and the most painful thing I've ever gone through. Some women go through this and they just feel cramping. I watched a video where a woman was like, oh, I did it, and then I watched Gilmore Girls, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it must not be that bad. You guys, I thought, there were moments where I was like, I actually feel like I could die right now. Like, I would rather die. There was blood everywhere. Poor Matt was so traumatized. We were up all night. I was trying to pass his tissue. I felt like it wasn't really passing, and I called my doctor the next day, and I said, look, I need to come see you. I went in her office, and she essentially had to go inside of my cervix, which is god-awful painful, and pull out what she could of the tissue that just wasn't passing. She told me, she said, look, the tissue's not coming out. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't want to go to surgery. We're in a pandemic right now. Is there anything I can do? And she said, well, you got to do it again. It was so traumatizing. I could not do it again. And she said, you got to do it again. So I did it again. I went through this process 3 times, and I'm gonna do a whole video on that because I don't think you care about the specifics, but I do think that women who are watching this really want to know. And this is without really processing the emotional impact of it all. This is just like, okay, I have a sickness, I have to treat it. That's where my mind was. It wasn't in like the feelings of it all. And it really wasn't until it was all over that I just looked at Matt and he looked at me, we just cried. And then we had to grieve. We had to go through that process, and I'm still going through it, and I have to tell you, I will never be over it. I'll never get over it. I'll never get over it. It is a deep sadness that you can never get over. If I had 15 kids, I will never forget my baby that I lost. I'll never forget it. And it will always be with me. And I know there are a lot of women who are watching this who probably have gone through it. My heart is with you, and I had no idea. I had no idea. It's unlike anything I've ever felt. As I sit here right now today filming this, I am just now physically getting over it, starting this week. I wore diapers for many, many weeks, everyone, and I have to say, there's not enough hype about them. They're really convenient. A lot of the videos you guys have seen on my channel and on Clever, and I'm like modeling clothes, wearing diapers. My family and my friends have been so great. I had packages showing up at my door every day, and thoughtful text messages, and people calling me. Who calls anyone these days? I had a couple of friends who are expecting moms, and we were all walking through it together. I will say that was so special to me to have people to confide in who understood what I was going through, and those women were so good to me during this time. And I just want to say, you guys know who you are, and you have no idea how much you have meant to me. Matt has been great. He's been at every appointment. He's seen some really dark stuff, like a horror movie level stuff up there. He's cleaned up vomit and cleaned up blood, and I don't think he wiped my butt, but he did pretty much everything else. I'm lucky that I have someone like him. Despite how hard this has been, in my faith, I believe that God is still in it and he's still working, and there's a plan. I'm gonna do my best here to put my best self forward, because that's really what you guys show up for. I'm gonna try really hard to bring you content that you are excited to see and watch. I am gonna be doing a couple of videos here for those women who are going through this situation. I wanna be able to be at least a resource for some women, so you'll see a couple of videos pop up here that talk about this even more in depth. I appreciate you guys being patient and being loving and supporting and sending me messages. And I feel really lucky to have kind of an extended group of family on the internet. Okay. I'll see you back here in the next one. Bye.